to be all I wanna be? When will I be good enough to live my life and be free? When will I dance till the morning lights up my day?
May I tell you another story?
Yes, please. Yes, please, Mary. I could stay here all day, as I said to you.
This again is Sudan. I've done a lot of work in Sudan, and people from South Sudan, when South Sudan was at war with Northern Sudan, as it was then, now Sudan. Again, displaced very often by militias who come in on horseback or on camelback, and they're armed, and they shoot people and rape people and throw people into huts and set the huts alight. So this was in the north of South Sudan, and it had happened in a particular village, in many villages, and the people walk. They flee and they walk for months maybe to get down to a refugee camp in Kenya, on the northern border of Kenya. And as I said, they're given shelter and food and maybe some medical attention, but probably very, very basic, and sanitation. And then you get on with life. And there are tens of thousands of people who've had a terrible time, and now here they are in the camp, and nobody's talked about the trauma that they've been through. So one day I said to the woman, would you like to have a meeting so we can talk about your experiences? And they said yes. And I said, I've got this hall and we can have it for 10 o'clock tomorrow. And at 10 o'clock the hall was full, and the woman was sitting there very quietly. They had organized themselves really well. And they said, she, pointing to the back of the room, is going to speak. And this young woman stood up, and a beautiful young woman of 28. And she said, we fled our village 9 years ago. And the militias came in and they shot us, and they were killing people, and we had to run. I had given birth to my son the day before. She was 19. And so I couldn't run as fast as everybody else. And they caught me, and I was raped by several of the men. And then they went away, and some people came up, and they carried me, and they were carrying me away, and these men came back. So they dropped me. She said, I'll never let go of my baby. And they dropped me, and these men raped me again, and they left me for dead. So when I became conscious again, I was walking with my baby, trying to find everyone. But I couldn't walk she couldn't walk very fast because she was bleeding so badly. But she found everybody, and she was following them. And her husband tried to take the baby away because she couldn't keep up, and he wanted his son. And she was not terribly important. She wouldn't let him have the baby because she knew the baby would die. So there was sort of a tug of war, and the husband, in frustration, stabbed her in the neck and stabbed her in the side here. And she dropped the baby because now she fell to the ground badly wounded, and he grabbed the baby and they left. Anyway, she managed to regain consciousness again, and she found some other people, and they walked for weeks to get down to Kenya. They mainly lived on drinking from mud puddles, some grain where they could find it. They ate leaves and berries. They were very thin when they got to Kenya and to the refugee camp. But they were there and they were safe. And she said to the doctor, I don't feel very good inside here. And they said, what happened? And she said, well, I was raped by many men, 6 weeks ago, or whatever it was. And the doctor said, well, that was 6 weeks ago. I don't think we can do anything for you. So she told the story, and I thanked her, and she sat down. And then the meeting continued. Now, it so happened that we had some visiting doctors in the camp. And so at lunchtime, I didn't say anything to her because you don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but at lunchtime I said to the doctors, would you be able to look at her? And they said, of course we can look at her. So we found her and I took her to see the doctors. And afterwards I said to them, so what do you think? And they said, well, she's obviously, her uterus has had a bad go of it, but there's nothing we can do unless we take her down to Nairobi so that we can do ultrasound, because we haven't got any equipment here. And I knew that she would not get permission to travel to Nairobi because the refugees were not allowed to leave the camp. So this was a hard call. I had to tell her that I couldn't do anything for her, and that the doctors couldn't do anything for her. So I told her, I said, I'm sorry, but we can't do anything. And she said, I'm happy because you heard me.